Mike Laval from Last Word on College Football joining us as we're throwing around a topic called changes. So he has changed the Tennessee football program at least a few years ago. He has looked at the current structure of the SEC and changed that. So my question number 3 is, looking at the broad landscape of the entirety of college football affecting everyone playing FBS football, what one change would you make?
Ooh, where do we start? If I had to change one thing, I think conferences are too big. I like smaller conferences. I think 14 teams is too big. If you look at the SEC, you got 14 teams. You play 8-game schedule. So every team in the other division visits the other team, I think, once every 8 years, I think is the math. I'd have to go back and look at that because you have the 7 teams. You got your cross-divisional rivalry that you see every year. So you visit you play the other team once every 6 years. You visit the place once every 12 years. That's a shame. There are great venues in the Southeastern Conference. Almost every stadium in every town is a great place. So you'd like to visit every other town more than once every 12 years. I think 10 to 12 is a good number. But conferences own the product these days. The NCAA no longer owns the product of college football. The conferences own the product, and it's in the conference's best interest to grow bigger. But if I could change one thing, I would make conferences smaller. I'd make them more regionally based because I think that's really the essence of college football. That's what separates it from the NFL is it's more regionally based. Kids grow up wanting to go to their state school, or at least they did when I was growing up. Fans kind of live amongst each other based on where they grew up. So I think it's more regionally based. I think when conferences kind of balloon into these super conferences, I think that kind of created problems. And then I'm not a fan of expansion of the playoffs. I actually like the BCS, but I think if you are a fan of the expansion of the playoffs, if you look at if you're looking at an 8-team playoff, I think if you have 8 Power 5, I think if you have a Power 8 conferences, if you have 8 Power 8 conferences, I think that really aligns nicely for those that want to expand the playoffs. And I think you can do 8 or maybe 6, depending on the numbers, and then you got 2 wild cards or whatever. But I would reduce the number of teams in each conference. I think the conferences are too big at 14.